Nobel Prize Laureate in Literature Professor Abdulrazak Gurnah has applauded South Africa for taking the case of Gaza to the International Court of Justice. He delivered the 22nd Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture and focused on realizing our shared humanity. The lecture seeks to encourage dialogue, often about difficult matters, to address the challenges faced by the globe. Gurnah also says, in an international context, our sense of shared humanity should guide our understanding of justice and inspire people to pursue justice beyond the borders of their respective countries.
Well, absolutely. Certainly a very remarkable moment for the Nelson Mandela Lecture. As you know, every year they bring the luminaries to come and talk about the most pertinent issues. And this time around, it's all about shared humanity. And the main speaker joins us now. And of course, a man really doesn't need any introduction, given his incredible CV. Once again, Prof, thank you so much indeed for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Lovely. So, Prof, we are having this lecture on the cusp of a number of challenges that we face. I mean, whether you're looking at conflicts, climate change, a myriad of challenges. How do we get solutions to these issues?
You see, you think I'm an expert on how the world can be fixed.
Very much so.
Which I'm not. But also would like to say that sometimes we need to remind ourselves that all ages have their own calamities in human history, and we have to keep, to some extent, a certain kind of balance, as it were, about this. That things, some of the issues that face us today can be solved with perhaps with more rational engagement with what is the problem. Let's say, for example, with the problem with refugees in Europe. Going to Europe, I mean, and some issues are promoted by self-interest, by nations. And I'm thinking here of Palestine, Israel, Russia, Ukraine. These are issues that are prompted by national hubris or national self-interest, which you and I can do nothing about. We just have to observe and speak about the injustices that we observe. So it depends on what we're talking about. We can do things about the environment. It's not, I don't think, too late. I'm not a scientist, but I don't think it's too late. And this kind of growing self-awareness about the dangers, no doubt will produce more caution on the way how we live in the world. So some issues can be resolved by I guess, more discipline of a certain kind, one or another. But some issues are not in our hands.
Prof, let's look at what's happening, for example, in the Middle East in the interest of solidarity, where you applauded South Africa for taking such a very bold step to go to the International Court of Justice. Especially, this is a long-standing problem. It goes back all the way in the 60s, where we've seen the wars and so many pacts being formed. But what do you make of this particular stance by South Africa and so many countries who chose to really say they want like a long-lasting peace in the Middle East?
Yeah. I mean, it's admirable, of course, extremely, and we applaud. Everybody applauds, or more or less everybody. I mean. But we do also know that even though 140 different countries representatives of 140 different countries at the UN said stop the war, there's one country that hasn't said it. And that's the country that supplies the material that enables Israel to continue doing what it's doing. In addition to supplying material, it's supplying all sorts of other moral as well as financial, as well as, etc., technical assistance. So it's not so much what the International Court of Justice, yes, good, because it kind of strengthens, if you like, the moral case that is being made. But if Israel does not want to take any notice of it, only one country can stop Israel from continuing what it's doing, and it doesn't feel that it wants to.
Prof, let's look at the post-colonial Africa. You reflected quite extensively about the 60s and so many countries in Africa. Politically, one would imagine they are free, but quite a number of challenges, socioeconomic issues. I mean, you have Agenda 2063 to try and fix some of these issues. What can be done to reach really that Africa that we want?
Well, I don't know, because at the moment it seems that it is so easy to destabilize governments. I mean, we have been fortunate actually in Tanzania, because despite all the various deprivations, I mean politically, nonetheless a kind of stability has existed. So there hasn't been any weird actions by armies or police or whatever. But it seems like in many places, particularly in West Africa, I should say, but maybe also in the Eastern Africa, Ethiopia, Somalia, so many instances in Sudan right now, where there are these very powerful military groups, as it were, that can just like that, just take over, and work that's been done has to stop, and everybody has to start again. You can't have that. That's not something that will result in a betterment or in progress or anything like that. It just creates chaos and havoc.